Hello. So today I want to share a personal experience that I had that made me realize that everything in life is a story. Like life is comprised of all these little stories that we tell ourselves. And I just had something happen that made me realize that even more. And I've written poems about this. I have one that's like, nothing in life is what it is, it's what we make it mean. Wise would it be to constantly question our ideas and how they seem? For nothing in life is what it is the story about it we tell. If we're careful enough, we can have heaven on earth, but unconsciously, we may create hell. That's just the beginning. And anyway, just came to mind because that is essentially what conclusion I drew after this series of events happened. And so I'm just going to share that story to put a little bit into perspective and to hopefully make you think about your own life and stories that you are creating for yourself. But first, if you have not, please subscribe. I would love it if you could subscribe and share this video or my other videos with anyone who you think might enjoy them. And if you have not yet checked out my online course, Show Up Shore's Secrets to Embody Confidence for a Lifetime, or signed up for my free email newsletter, I would love it if you could join me. One of my intentions for 2026 is to send more of my thoughts in written form in the newsletter, and I would love to have you as part of that community. So what happened was, to give you a little background, my parents are from Chicago. So even though I grew up in Florida, my parents are from Chicago. And 40 years ago, in 1986, the Chicago Bears, the football team, the American football team, won the Super Bowl. And my parents went to a Super Bowl party while they were dating and watched the Chicago Bears win. And the Bears have not won a Super Bowl since then. That was their first and only time that they have won the Super Bowl. This year, they were doing really well. They had a really incredible season and they made it to the playoffs. And my mom, who, as many of you know from watching this channel, is on hospice. So my mom is terminally ill. She was told almost 4 years ago at this point that she had 2 months left to live, and she's still hanging on, but she is officially on hospice, which means that it's just a matter of making her life comfortable. They're not really doing any treatments or anything like that. So she has been very excited about the Bears, and her health it's deteriorating and it's very difficult to watch. But the thing that lately has been keeping her excited and keeping her going was the Bears potentially going to the Super Bowl. And every time they'd win a game, it was like, so exciting. And so in my head, I was like, the Bears are going to make it. They're going to do it. The Super Bowl is going to be so much fun watching it with my parents. It's just going to be this heartwarming experience. And I had this whole fantasy in my mind about what was going to happen with the sports team that obviously I have no control over. And so long story short, they made it to the playoffs. And then on Sunday, with my brother and my parents, we watched this football game. And the Bears were down by 7 points. And then in the last 27 seconds of the game, scored this amazing, incredible, record-breaking historical play to tie the game. And they went into overtime. It seemed like they were going to do it. And suffice it to say, they lost. They lost the game. And I cried so hard. I was so sad. Granted, I was crying when the game started because I was so happy. And so I'm an emotional person, as you know from watching this channel, but it just devastated me. And it was for so much more than the Bears losing the Super Bowl. I've never been so affected by a sports game. I don't watch a lot of sports because I'm realizing I get too emotionally invested when there's a team that I support. But in this case, it went so much deeper than that. It wasn't just about the team. It was all the stories that I had told myself about what was going to happen. And it was the pain I felt for my mom because I know that was really important to her. But she didn't cry. She was in so much physical pain. She was like, okay, I'm going to bed. And the next day she was like, oh, what a bummer, but life goes on. I was more upset about it, I think, than she was. But So I've been reflecting on why I was so upset. Part of it was because I wanted that, obviously, for my mom. I wanted her to have the hope. I wanted her to have something to look forward to. Part of me was afraid that if the Bears lost, she would just give up. And then I realized, like, that's she has so much other more meaningful things in her life, so many other more meaningful things in her life to look forward to other than the Bears winning. Yes, that would be fun, and it's not a reason to keep living, but also it was the expectation that I had around it. Now I'm like not even super excited to watch the Super Bowl, and I love the Super Bowl. I love watching the Super Bowl. I was invited to an event on Super Bowl Sunday that is with a bunch of very influential, powerful people, and it would be wise for me to go. But I told them I couldn't go because it's the Super Bowl and I want to watch the Super Bowl. And now I'm like, should I just go to the event? But still, it's important to me and it's an important family thing. Anyway, my point is, I had this vision of watching the Super Bowl with the Bears playing and being so excited about it. I didn't even care if they won the Super Bowl. I just wanted them to go and have that experience with my family and mostly with my mom, because the saddest thing ever was when they lost. She's like, well, I don't know if I'll be around next year to watch if they do go next year. And so that's just very sad. And anyway, so I went and I was so upset this evening and thinking about, yeah, a lot of it was because of this expectation that I had put around it. That next Sunday I had canceled plans because the Bears would have gone on to the playoffs next Sunday, but obviously they're not. And so I had this vision for like, okay, next Sunday we're going to watch the game. And then 2 weeks from then we're going to watch the Super Bowl. And it's going to be this heartwarming, amazing experience to share with my mother for the Bears winning the Super Bowl the first time in 40 years. And I get to watch it with my mom. And so it was just so painful for that reason. But my point in sharing all of this is that I was like, I don't know anyone on the Bears team. It literally has no effect on my life other than the perception and the stories that I have around it. Even the night the Bears won, so the week prior, they won in another like miraculous last minute. They were trailing by 18 points and then like won the game. And I stayed up so late. My whole next day I was tired, but I was so excited. And then I was kind of like, okay, well, now what? Like, it was exciting, and then it was over and my life doesn't change, except that then I had that fun thing to look forward to. And so I was like, why do people get so invested in sports? Because it doesn't actually contribute to any of my goals or my life. It just creates a fun experience, which I think there's something valuable about that too. But when they lost, it was the same thing. It was like, well, why am I getting so upset? This does not affect me. And even my mom, when she looked over and she saw me crying, she was like, yeah, there was one year when the Cubs were so close to making it to the playoffs. The Cubs is the Chicago baseball team, one of the Chicago baseball teams. And she was like, they were so close to getting to the playoffs, they didn't make it. And I remember just crying and crying. And then I was like, that's so stupid. Like, it's just a game and I can breathe. I'm alive. I have no reason to be upset over this. So it's just a reminder that for me, it was literally, I attached so much meaning to something that can mean nothing if I choose to make it mean nothing. I can make it mean that a team lost a game. Most of the time, when someone tells me, like, oh, this team won, this team lost, I'm like, okay, cool, whatever. Like, it doesn't affect me. But this one affected me because I attached emotional meaning to the outcome. And that's not wrong or bad to do. We do it all the time. Life would be very boring if we never did that. And becoming aware of the narrative that we have around certain situations is how we can free ourselves from the emotional pain. I caused myself so much pain by having such high expectations and by being so emotionally invested in something that I had zero control over, And it was fun. I don't regret it at all. It was very fun, and feeling that deeply is not bad. it was powerful to have such intense emotions. And I appreciate that part about myself. Like, I'm a poet. I understand I'm an emotional being. And I think that we can all just start to ask, like, does this really make a difference, or is it a story I'm telling myself, and is that story serving me? Because then it made me think, like, man, if I get so worked up over this imaginary meaning that I've given to this game, I can create really intensely positive emotions by attaching meaning to other things that maybe I have more control over. So, anyway, just wanted to share that story and give you some food for thought. Where in your life, or what is an experience that you've had where you got so worked up over something that you knew intellectually was, not that important, but you felt like, it really means something. And maybe you're still holding on to resentment from that. Even when I said that just now, I thought about this package that my mom mailed me when I was in grad school, and it had this necklace that she found in an antique shop that she gave me for Christmas, but I was going back to New York for grad school, but the chain was too short, so she went to get the chain resized and she mailed me the necklace back. But I was traveling, and so when the package arrived, no one was there to receive it, and it got lost. And my mom spent hours on the phone with the post office trying to track down this package, and she never did. And when I think of that experience, it literally gives me a knot in my stomach. And I have to rationalize now, like, I was giving so much emotional meaning, still giving emotional meaning to an object and to a story of, like, what would that mean for me? And I also have the power to let go of that story. It was an object. Yes, it caused my mom a lot of emotional pain and turmoil in the moment, because of the story she was telling herself about it and the story that I'm currently telling myself about it. And we have the power to let that go if it's not serving us. And me being as upset as I was and losing sleep, I lost hours of sleep. I was so sad the next day. Even today, I'm still tired because today's 2 days after that happened. And that's a choice at the end of the day. And so the more control we have and the more aware we are over the narrative that we're telling ourselves, the more power we'll have in life, just full stop. And there's so much literature on this. There's so many podcasts and meditations and talks about this, but just wanted to share that story and the insight that I got from it. And again, I would love to hear your experiences. What is something that you've attached so much meaning to that from an outsider's perspective maybe doesn't seem that important, but it means something to you? And having meaning is important. That is a good thing. And we get to choose what's meaningful to us and how it serves us and what's not. So I get to rewrite my story and say, what's meaningful to me is I got to watch that game with my mom. Even though they lost, I got to share that experience with her. It wasn't the outcome we wanted, but I still got to watch it with her. And I still got to share that with her. And I still got to see the Bears go as far as they did for the first time in a really long time. So I just wanted to share that story. Thank you so much for watching, and please leave a comment below with your thoughts.